right?
Hey guys, hey, welcome to Faith, Love, and Coffee. I am Trish.
Jamie here.
Jeanette here.
And this is going to be a probably a short episode, as I know lots of you are probably with your dads or celebrating your dads, even the ones who've gone on before us. And I think there's a tornado siren going on where my sister is at. So we may keep this short. And then she has to fly for a minute to go to a baseball game or a basketball game.
Basketball, yeah.
Yeah.
But I am here in Oklahoma with my dad, so I'm one of the lucky ones to say that I'm able to do that, and so I hope I can continue to do that.
Yes. So awesome. So we are talking about dads today, and happy Father's Day and happy early Father's Day to all you dads out there, if there are any of y'all that are listening right now. Jimmy, since you need to head off here in just a few minutes, why don't you tell us a little bit about your dad and what makes him so special?
Well, okay.
Which I already know some of it anyway, but anyway.
Yes. So, the one thing I can say that for sure is that, my dad is a veteran. He was in Vietnam, in the Navy. Yeah. And, so thank goodness for that. Right. He told me he learned a lot during that time. In those 4 years he was, in the Navy. But then came out of the Navy and worked for the post office for a long time, 41, almost 42 years. And then in that time, I was born, and then had my two younger brothers, got remarried and all that good stuff. But then, I think what makes him the most special to me is that my dad is one of those now that when you say we listen and don't judge, he's never really judged anyway. And if he did, you didn't know it. He may in his head be talking mucho trash, but he never would say it to you. If that makes sense. And he's never told us what we should or shouldn't do. He's just always been a listening ear, and always wished the best for all of us kids.
Yeah. I think one of the great things about your dad that I really like is he's so goofy. He's just like one of those dads.
Yeah. He can be goofy.
Yes. And so he's just like, you just saw him a minute ago, just kind of like dancing.
Yeah.
I love that side of him. I always have, he was a very instrumental part of my life when I was younger, when he was married to, our mom.
Yeah.
And he taught me so much. It was just so gentle and always patient. So that is one thing I really, really loved about him. And so, and always wanted, always was with us in the backyard and doing things, and we were off doing stuff with him too. So he was, really great at that. So I really appreciate him for that. So, but my dad, and so thank you for sharing about your dad. He is one great guy.
Pretty cool dude.
Yeah, pretty cool dude. So, Jeanette, I'd like Jeanette and I, we have had our daddies, and both of them have passed away. And Jeanette, I think, lost her dad before me due to COVID. Is that correct, Jeanette?
That is correct.
Yes. And so, but he was very instrumental in her life as well. And so tell us a little bit about your daddy.
My dad was a Vietnam veteran. Go veterans, go Army. He was Army though, so hey. And he was always working hard for us. I think that's where I get my work ethic from, is what, from him, watching him work so hard to provide for the family. And he, went above and beyond to help anybody in the family. He would give anybody the shirt off of his back. And also his fellow veterans. Like he would sit there and help them fill out their paperwork for, their VA benefits. He would drive them to Houston for their appointments. Like he wanted to make sure the veterans were taken care of. And, he always went above and beyond to help anybody. Like somebody would call saying, hey, I don't know what's going on with my garage door opener. And there goes dad, or hey, I need a ride. And there goes dad. So I think that's where I get my, my caring about people and my personality. Definitely my personality. Dad was a jokester. I don't know if y'all knew that, but 24/7, dad was a jokester. And we used to play tricks on each other like all the time or whatever. And my dad was also very goofy. Like he would bust out songs and dancing and jokes. He always had a joke. So, I think I get my personality and making friends really easily. I think I get that characteristic from dad. So
I agree. I thought that.
is that fair, Jenny?
I actually have a funny story about your dad, if I can tell it real quick. So Devin was young, like 6 years old, and he had done something to Devin that Devin reacted and hit your dad in the mouth. Like,
Oh,
and he tried, yeah. And we were at our Thea Janie's house, and we were leaving, and your dad, like, I think he like came and grabbed him or did something that shook Devin up a little bit, and he got your dad like in the jaw, and your dad, his lip kind of bled, and your dad gave Devin $5. He was like, that was a great hit, young man. Like, you got a good swing. Instead of like getting upset, he literally took it. And to this day, we laugh. I told mom, I was like, I can't believe Henry gave him $5 for like popping him in the mouth. But Devin hit him just in the right spot. And I thought, oh my God. And it wasn't, your dad hadn't done anything crazy other than just shocked him.
Yeah.
And Devin,
oh my gosh.
gave him $5 and was like, good job, young man. Great hit. And I was like, mortified, because I was like, oh my God, Devin, I can't believe you hit him, And it's one of those like jokester type things. Your dad was always, doing something, and it just struck Devin like, gave him $5. I was like, oh my gosh.
That's a great story.
Thanks for sharing that. I had no idea.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Because I know that we're called Faith, Love, and Coffee, but listen, I woke up at 10 o'clock this morning and I have drank my weight in coffee already.
I had 2 cups too.
Huh?
I had 2 cups also, and I was like, oh my God, I usually drink 1, so water for the rest of the day.
I know. So, it was kind of a weird night. So, but anyway, all right. Well, since everybody's told them a little about their dads, I want to share a little bit about my dad too. It just seems like we have a common theme. My father was in the reserve. Well, I can't say the reserves. What is the other one called?
Oh my gosh! If you wouldn't have said it, I would be able to tell you, because
it's the reserves, but it's the other one. So
is it the National
Guard? Thank you.
Okay.
So he was part of the National Guard, and he did go overseas. So he was in Vietnam as well. So all of us have that commonality, and also my dad was Army. So, after he and my mother divorced, he remarried with my wonderful stepmom, Gloria, and they had 2 beautiful boys, who are my heart too. But dad was he was a truck driver, so he was in and out, because he would actually drive over the country. So it didn't matter. It wasn't like local or anything. It was like that. He would be off to Mississippi or off to Maine or off to California, or it was crazy. He had a crazy schedule, and sometimes my stepmom would go with him, but more like when he came home, he was the kind of guy who couldn't just sit still. He had to be out doing something all the time. So he's out, fixing fences, or he was out, with the animals on the farm, or, cutting grass, and not just his. I mean, he would be like going to his neighbors and cut their grass, or he'd be like, "Hey, do you need something?" And he would be off cutting somebody else's grass, or helping them with their stuff, getting tires off their property. Gosh, tires are forever a thing down in South Texas. I don't know what it is about it, but he's like, helping other people with their stuff. There was nothing and there was always a party at Dad's house. Always, we're going to the Peñas. We're gonna go have a barbecue, and that barbecue would last into the next morning. Yeah. So it was always a party at the Peñas. Okay. So, but yeah, but let me tell you, if you drank and you fell asleep at 2:00 in the morning, and if my dad was up at 6:00 in the morning, everybody was up at 6:00.
Oh yeah.
So
okay. I'm being called to go. I'm being called to go. I'm going to head out of here. Y'all enjoy the rest of the show. Love you guys. Thank you all. Happy Father's Day, everyone. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Bye.
So anyway, my dad would be one of those people that was like, well, if you can do that and you can handle that, then you need to come on and you need to get up now and it's time to clean up. So that was my dad, but he was a very kind-hearted man, but at the same time, he was very strict too. So, if you were going to sit there at his house and you were going to drink, you were not driving. He took everybody's keys. So him and my stepmom were very adamant about that. So very loving man. Gosh almighty, would give you the shirt off his back. It just, I just can't say anything really bad about my dad right now. I mean, he was a really good guy, but also, since we're talking about dads and stuff, we have uncles and, brothers and everything who also are dads that we could like go on and on and on. Oh gosh. So I have a couple of uncles that I have as favorites. And I have, of course, my brothers, actually one of my brothers, actually my oldest brother, let's talk about my oldest brother. He has 3 children. And so, he was a fantastic father. I mean, would make them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, he was just wouldn't, broke his back to, do for them. And then, my other brothers, my brother Joe has 4 children, and my brother Max has 1 child who is his stepchild, but has raised her since she was 10, and she is his. So, so that is pretty much it on my family side. What about you, Jeanette? You got any brothers who are dads, or?
Oh yeah, both my brothers. My oldest brother has 2 kids, and my youngest has 3. So yeah. So I didn't know that your dad was a truck driver. My daddy was a truck driver too, and he would do like long hauls all across the country and everything. Mm-hmm. And then when you talked about how he would wake everybody up, girl, my dad, there was one time where I got home later, like we all got home later than we were supposed to. 6:00 the next morning, Reveille was blaring through the house. He turned on the lights in our rooms, and it was time to clean. Yeah. You were going to play with the big boys and come home later than you were supposed to. Oh, Reveille, 6:00 in the morning. It was great.
Back then we didn't think it was great, but looking back now, I was like, yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah, that morning I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? And I had friends over too, so like that didn't help, right?
Yeah. No, listen, but they kept on coming back, didn't they?
They would call him Dad. Our friends called him Dad, like they call Mom. They called Dad. So Dad was a dad to a lot of our friends. And,
yes.
But oh my gosh, yes, I will never forget Reveille playing so early in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. My dad was a trucker for over 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that off camera. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. But y'all, this is a show that we share everything. So if you guys, who come on later to watch, or you want to leave us a comment, tell us about your dads, tell us about your uncles or your brothers, the people who made a difference in your lives. They don't have to be related to you when they make a difference, because that's like a father figure if you've got one of those. Heck, I mean, I've got good friends who are fantastic dads too. And they have their little quirks and everything. And I just, wow, there's so many to shout out. But, if you're a friend of mine or you're a family member of mine, you guys know already, you're wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Do you have a godfather? Like, you're Hispanic. Do you have a godfather?
I'm sure I do. My mother actually showed me a place in Robstown where my godmother and godfather lived. And I don't know. You don't even know their names.
Really? Like my godfather is my Theo, right? My Theo Thone on mom's side of the family. And so he's always been around too, like to help out with the family, like when dad was on long hauls or whatever, and we lived in George West. But yeah, so people have godfathers, and like my oldest brother is their godfather, and I really feel sorry for them. God forbid anything happened to us, because my oldest brother, he's crazy. Like he's kind of like one of those that he can fix it, but then it's more broken than it's fixed kind of ways, and he's just a goofball. So, but he's more responsible. He's the more responsible one of my. I guess out of everybody that we went through the list for. So,
Mm-hmm.
But I trust him enough that he'll take care of my girls, right? But
yeah,
he's still a goofball. So,
I don't know who my godfather and my godmother are. No, I think if I asked my mom, she probably said she probably doesn't remember. So it's just one of those things, gosh almighty. But I also, now that my husband has come through the door, I want to shout out, to our husbands as well, the men who are the fathers to our children. And I love, it's not the most pleasant thing all the time, but Matt loves to like mess with Trinity, and they do their little wrestling and stuff like that. And sometimes it gets irritating because, my daughter has one of those high pitched like sound, like makes those high pitched noises, and then you're like, please stop. But it's so heartwarming to see them like, do things together, and he will take her for a daddy-daughter date and, things like that. And I just think that's so important, for dads to spend time with their kids and, be there for them, be present there for them. And I can't complain about Matt. If there's one thing that this man absolutely does well, is being present for our child. And I think that is extremely just awesome.
Yeah. My heart breaks for the people that have they don't have a relationship with their dads, and I get that not every man is a good father figure. I mean, I totally understand that, but it breaks my heart to know that there are people out there that don't have that relationship like I had with my daddy when he was here,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really sad that there are some men who are fathers that don't even know their children because they choose not to. So there's that side also, but
there is.
There's a lot of that. But I love it when the girls have, like, I was the only girl, and so I guess I was closer to my dad than my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So like when dad passed away, like I was in charge of everything, which was really crazy, like his service and picking the pictures and doing this and doing that. And I was just like, okay. And they were like, well, you were his favorite anyway. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, I think that and for anybody who's listening too, I mean, I think that's one of the advantages also of coming from a home that's solid, because there's so many broken homes, like Jamie and I come from broken homes. But that doesn't mean that, my mother decided she didn't want to remarry, which is totally cool, for her. Dad decided he wanted to remarry, and he, again, gave me two brothers. Now on that side, I am the only girl. So I am the sister. But with my mom, there's two daughters and one son. So, yeah. So with my dad, and I didn't live with my dad. So I grew up with my mom, with the exception of when I was very young. Then I lived with my grandmother and my dad, that kind of thing. But in my adult years, after I graduated from high school, I had a very solid relationship with my dad. So, or at least I think so. Some may not say, I didn't go live down there with him, but by the time I was 18, I was living out on my own, that kind of thing. And I lived in Dallas. He lived in South Texas. And sometimes when you're working, that just doesn't work all the time, where you can go visit for a weekend. And back then the speed limit was 50 miles per hour. And it took 8 hours to get down there. So, do you remember that? Oh my God, the speed limit used to be like 50, 55, like
50, 55.
now, but
yes, now it's 75, 80.
Yes, which is crazy. But yeah, I got I had the opportunity to go visit him every once in a while, and then but yeah, I just loved going down there, because not only did I get to see my dad, I got to see my brothers, because they all stay down there too. So but yeah, those were good times for sure.
Yep. And I know that your dad and both my dad, they were hard workers, and that's probably where you get your work ethic from too, is growing up knowing your dad, that he worked really hard. So
him and my mother was
your mom,
very, definitely.
Your mom still hasn't quit. What are you talking about, girl?
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so my mom brought us up as a single mom. So y'all, she was also that father figure too, because she had to be. Those single mothers who bring up their kids are not just a mom, they're a dad too. Yeah. Especially if the dad is not there, know. So not that my father wasn't there, which is a whole different story. My life had so many consequences too. It's crazy. But the fact is that my mother was a father figure as well, and is the only, when her and Larry divorced, which when I was about 13, then she was my single mother for 5 years, and was just her, So, but yeah, I talk about a strong woman and a strong person to look up to as far as work ethic is concerned. I think that's where I get mine from. And knowing that my dad was on the road all the time, providing for his family. Yes, you're absolutely right. I think so. I mean, we're just a chip off the old block, Yes,
and kudos to the women that also play the role of mom and dad. Kudos to y'all, because I know, like, when my husband has traveled and stuff like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a single mom right now. And sometimes it's crazy trying to get kids to, like, one has to go to soccer and the other one has to go here. And then, trying to make it all work out. And I'm just like, single mom life is not fun. And I always do it, from time to time. And I always say that, like, I'm a single mom.
Yeah. And also that for all the single dads out there. Yes. Who don't have that mother figure in their child's life, because just as much as it happens to women, it happens to men too.
It does.
And so we salute you, because listen, being a mom is hard. Being a single dad, I can imagine, is probably harder. So, because you got to learn things that you probably never thought you'd have to learn.
Especially if you have a girl.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I have 2 best friends who are fathers to one little girl. And, I know they have many women around them, but, I'm sure it's still a challenge.
Oh, yeah. You have to learn how to do hair, and you have to learn how to do this and that.
And deal with different things when they become a teenager. Yep. And, oh, my goodness, all those hormones.
Yes. But, So
shout out to all you dads out there and all you mothers out there who are daddies too. Oh, and the single dads, and oh my word, like I said, the list can go on and on. So, Oh my gosh.
I will say that if whoever's watching us, if your dad is still alive, give him a call and let him know what he means to you. Because once he's gone, you're just left with this empty heart, a hole in your heart that cannot be filled. So.
Yeah, especially when this day comes around, and you want to say, you want to tell them, Happy Father's Day. But prayer up there is also good. I'm sure they're looking over us and, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it's just, but it's a little bit harder because, you remember all the good times and you really just want to reach out or hug them and, that kind of thing. And you really can't. So it makes it hard,
It does. Can't be that first phone call in the morning to them, and stuff like the routines that you had. They don't happen anymore.
Right. Exactly. So even for like Veterans Day, I would call my dad and tell him, hey, thank you for your service, or, Memorial Day, or, things like that. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how time just takes you away, I think both of us were a little sideswiped on how our dads, left this world.
Yeah.
So, like your dad was healthy and, COVID took him, and we thought my dad was on the recovery from, the word is right there on my lip. The word is right there. I'm like going, oh my gosh. Like his toe never healed, but who knew that with diabetes and everything, we thought he was on the mend and he was walking and everything. And I had been talking to him the day before, and then all of a sudden I got a call at 3:00 in the morning telling Dad's gone. And I'm like, what? So it was very surreal. It was like I didn't believe that it was happening, but it was happening. So anyway, that was very surprising and shocked because he was still in his young 70s. So very, 72, I think, is when he was taken, 72, 73, something like that. When he was,
my dad was 71, and he had COVID and he was fine. Like they were talking about sending him home, like to rehab, or sending him home, and what we would need therapy and all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, great. So I was waiting for the phone call, like I need to go over there so I can go pick him up from the hospital since Mom doesn't drive, and trying to figure out, okay, how long do I need to be down there? And then the next morning, when Mom called to check on him because I hadn't called her, she's like, oh my gosh, they say that he's really bad off. And I'm like, how did that happen within not even a 12-hour time period? Like, I don't understand. But yeah, and then he was gone. So it was like we didn't expect that.
Yeah, exactly. That was like what just happened? So, but yeah, but I know he's up there in heaven, and I know he's looking down on us, and I know that, I think we're better for it. So
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Well, I told you guys that this episode was going to be a little short. It's a little short of 30 minutes, but I'm sure if Jamie were on, she'd probably tell a little bit more stories and stuff like that. And let me tell you, Jamie has been a single mom and dad to her child since he was born. And I give her kudos as well, because she did it. And she has a son who graduated from Texas A&M, and he's going to be getting married this fall, right after Thanksgiving. And I just think she's done a tremendous job as mother and father. So kudos to my sister as well. So do you have any parting words other than Happy Father's Day, you guys?
Happy Father's Day. Call your dad. Tell him how much he means to you. Don't forget that. And if you have a broken relationship with your dad, try to figure out what really went wrong and see if everything is fixable. I mean, not really everything, but if you have a broken relationship with your dad, try to see if there's some way to make amends and fix it, because once they're gone, you can't go back and change that.
If you can.
If you can. If you can't, we understand, but if you can, try to, find it in your heart. Maybe he wants to ask you for forgiveness, but he's waiting for you to make that call because some men are stubborn like that.
Yes, they are. But I do agree with Jeanette, you guys. I mean, every minute of our lives does count, because you never know if you're going to be here tomorrow, or you or them. So, make every day count the way it should. and call your loved ones. Just don't text them. Don't text them. I mean, if you feel that it's something you do to go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to call you, sure, go ahead and do that. But nothing takes the place of your voice ever. So, pick up the phone after you've texted them and say, hey, is it okay if I call you? And then, call them, because it is so important. I've had people tell me, I've forgotten what my mom sounds like. I've forgotten what my dad sounds like. I've forgotten because they didn't pick up the phone and call their parents as much. And that is a regret that they have. So please, 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 please pick up the phone and call your loved ones. And it just doesn't have to be your dad. It could be anybody. So they would prefer to hear from you and listen to your voice rather than have a text. So I can't stress how important that is. I'm very fortunate that the last thing I heard from my father was, I love you. So, and that was the day before he died. So that will always remain with me. Okay, so I think that's it for this episode. So I'll be closing us out with keep faith, spread love, and savor every sip of life. Until the next episode, you guys, take care and keep brewing positivity. We'll see you the next time.
Bye.
Bye.